I'm shooting the thumbnail for the video right now, so that's what I'm doing. I kind of like it. I think this is cool, you know? It's a different look for me. Should have cleaned the floor before I shot this. All right.
Hey guys, so this video is going to be a little bit different than normal. It's going to be much more stripped back, not nearly as polished, but I do want to talk about something important, which is anxiety and mental health, and specifically my own anxiety and some of the things that I've been going through over the past couple years. But also, really the point is to hopefully get you guys to start a conversation in your own lives. And so if any of what I say in this video resonates with you, if it's something you're going through, if you've struggled with anxiety, depression, or mental health, hopefully this can be the nudge that you need to start having those conversations in your life. I'm also going to talk about some of the things that I've learned in terms of how I've been able to manage and cope with my own anxiety, because I have certainly faced some low lows, but I've really learned a lot about myself over the past few years that have helped me to get through it. So hopefully I can share some of that advice with you in this video. So if you're new to the channel over the past couple of years, if you haven't seen some of my early videos that I've done on anxiety and some of the things that I've personally gone through, there was a point in 2019 which was really a low point for me when it came to my mental health. Specifically, during the summer of 2019, Nat and I had taken a trip overseas through Europe, which was great, but I didn't realize at the time I was experiencing, I think, a lot of burnout, a lot of overwhelm from work, and mostly the overwhelm to try to do everything. So to try to have this life where we traveled and got to really focus on our personal lives while also working crazy hours and trying to build this YouTube channel. And the pressure that inherently comes with speaking to an audience of hundreds of thousands. And so it's something that's weird, and I know that not a lot of people can relate to that, but I think everybody can relate to the feeling of trying to do everything and having a lot of pressure, feeling like they have to do everything. I was having a difficult time trying to maintain everything. We came back from this trip, and then we moved, and then when we moved into this apartment, I just felt so unsettled and so far removed from my routine and my ambitions and everything that I wanted to do that everything kind of came crumbling down. And at first I thought I was allergic to my apartment. Seriously, I thought that there was, maybe it was like the fresh paint on the walls. Maybe there was carbon monoxide leaking. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that I was experiencing a lot of really physical symptoms. I felt lightheaded, lethargic, tired. I wake up with headaches, overwhelmed, dizzy. All these things that were so physical that I was like, this can't be anxiety. I've had anxiety before. This is not that. I worked through it over the span of a couple weeks. It really didn't get much better through that time. I think the one thing that really started to help me the most at that time was having a conversation with Natalie and just letting her know how I felt. And then I went to a doctor. I explained everything that I was going through based on what I said, and also based on the fact that in this doctor's office, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, and she could tell I was just sweating like profusely. Like, she touched my legs and just did a basic exam, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you definitely have generalized anxiety disorder, short form GAD." If you're not familiar with it, it's much different than the typical anxiety that most people experience. Usually, everybody experiences it, and it's usually in the form of worry. But when it becomes more than that, when it kind of gets in the way of your life and it becomes difficult to do everyday tasks, and oftentimes it happens without there being anything that you need to worry about, that's when it kind of falls under this bucket of generalized anxiety. And so at that point, I just started to work on myself to try to work through this, and over time, it did get better. It wasn't a straight line. It wasn't easy. There were tough days, and then there were days that were a little bit better. And then over time, there became more and more better days. And over the past 2 years, I haven't reached that low that I had at that point. And I think it's thanks to the fact that, one, I had a really strong support system, and two, I didn't kind of fall into the same mistakes that I did in the past. I didn't kind of feel like I had to do everything. I started to let things go. And the one thing that you'll even notice this year is that I've started to upload much less YouTube videos. And that's because I've started this course platform. There's a lot of other things that I'm interested in doing. And so making a video every single week all year long, I realized was just too much. And if I tried to do it, then those old feelings would start to creep back. And I'm sure, and I feel it now on a day-to-day basis, where that overwhelm, that anxiety, the perfectionism all starts to swirl together. And that's when I know I need to kind of take a break, pause, and slow down. And so there are a few things that I do, some of the things that I've mentioned already, but that have helped me over this time. I think the first thing that I've really started to develop is a strong self-awareness. And so becoming aware of how I'm feeling. And when these things start to creep up, it lets me tell myself when I need to take a break and when I need to pause and when I need to close the computer and say, that's it, that's enough work for today. I've realized that sometimes there is a direct cause of my anxiety. It's because I'm on the news too much. I'm sure that many people experience the same thing in 2020. Just checking the news way too much, it doesn't help, and it often leads to that overwhelm and that anxiety. Going on social media too much, working too much, those are things that have a direct cause. But then there are times when there really is no direct cause for the anxiety I'm experiencing, and just being aware, being real with myself and saying, hey, Matt, it's okay. You've got a little bit of anxiety right now, and that's okay. I think the acknowledging it is important, because if you don't, then you push through it, you ignore it. This is what most people do. And then that will only make the problem worse. After that, usually what I try to do is slow down. Like I said, if I feel an anxiety coming on, I'll decide, okay, I'm done with work for the day. Overall, I'll just slow down with the amount of stuff that I'm doing that week or that month and not push myself too hard. It's difficult for somebody who is ambitious, and if you are ambitious, you have to find that line between getting what you want to get done and also knowing that you can push back and change your deadlines and your goals if you have to. And so, I'm working on a YouTube course. I've talked about it a few times so far on this channel. I've pushed that deadline back 3 times now because I just didn't feel as if myself and my team would be able to make this in a way that wouldn't burn us out and create more anxiety in our lives. And so I said, it's better to just push it back, to not overwhelm and do too much. At the end of the day, if you launch something, if you create something that you're really proud of and that you love, it's gonna damper the whole experience if you're burnt out through that process. I think the other thing that I've done is to let go of control. This idea that I can control how I'm feeling in any given moment, that I can somehow control this anxiety if I just focus on it and try to, push it down. Just accepting that it's okay that I feel this way sometimes, that I am not perfect, that I'm not going to have complete equilibrium and peace in my life and in my days. And that is okay. And so letting go sometimes takes the form of me just lying down and just accepting that this is the way I'm feeling. When I was really going through that rough stint in 2019, that was definitely one of the most helpful things that I did, which it sounds so simple, but literally just lying down on the floor and then just letting those feelings wash over me, not trying to hide them. And that really has been a key part in me overcoming this, because instead of just ignoring it, pushing it down, I'm just letting it go. It's not the perfect tool, but it's the only tool that has really helped me the most. Besides the final one, which I will say is opening up. And it's the conversations that I've had with Natalie when I feel that anxiety coming on, particularly when it's bad, when I know that I'm just feeling really overwhelmed and I really feel like what the conversation we're having or the day I'm having, I just need to let Natalie know. I have found that really helps me because it takes the pressure off myself of being perfect. And when the people around you that care about you know that you're going through something that's difficult, they're going to be there to listen, to help give advice, but really mostly just to acknowledge that what you're feeling is real. And so I think if I was going to leave you with anything, I think that's the one next step that I would encourage you to take if you're experiencing anxiety. And I know I've talked to so many subscribers over the years who have said that they've gone through very similar things. Have that conversation, just open up. if you are feeling that, if you really feel like you need to get something off your chest, don't be afraid to say it. It's not easy to have these conversations. I actually went back and looked at the first video I made on this, which is just a video called I Have Anxiety. I could just tell how uncomfortable I was in that video. One, because I was going through a really tough time, but two, because it's really difficult to open up about your vulnerabilities. It's always easy to talk about things that you've gone through in the past and you've triumphed over them, and then now you're this perfect person. But then when you're really talking about the struggles and the things that you're going through right now, right in this moment, that's when real vulnerability comes through. But to be able to just express yourself, just to be honest and have these kind of conversations that could potentially help yourself and help those around you, I think are incredibly important. And so do those things. Thank you guys so much. Obviously, I really appreciate the fact, and my friends, Josh and Tommy, who were just in my last video, even commented on this, the fact that in the comments, you guys are just the kindest and most encouraging people in the world. And that makes me really proud. It's not something I've actively tried to go out and do to try to have you guys be nice in the comments. But we're doing something right. And I'm just really proud of the fact that you guys are down there providing advice, encouragement. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm watching YouTube videos, I always pop down in the comments just to see what the conversation is like, see if somebody said something funny, see if something offered up advice, or maybe a counterpoint to something that was mentioned in the video. And so I think that's one of the great things about YouTube and this little community that we've built here. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. That's the end of the video. I feel like I was just like rambling at the end, but I think that's probably everything I wanted to say. Yeah, okay. Ugh.